You don't know what you have until it's gone. Now, what does this mean? And more importantly, why are human beings like this? Before we get to today's talk, thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Sky, and welcome to Espresso with Sky. And this is my new sidekick, Chewy. Say hi. All right. If you haven't done so yet, and if you're first time here, go ahead, hit the subscribe, smash that notification bell. If you really want to help us out, go ahead and hit that like button. But if you really want to help us out, please leave a comment below. And if you don't know what to comment about, just write down which of the talks you like the best on Espresso with Sky. Do you like my vlogs? Do you like the Lab 78 live shows? Or do you like these Sky talks? All right, so let's get into today's topic of you don't know what you have until it's gone. Now, this is something very interesting because for some odd reason, the things that are so valuable in life, we wait till we lose them before we say, oh, they were so valuable to me. Now, isn't that such a weird thing that when you had it, you couldn't value it? Why are we like this? You see, we are people that are always losing things all the time. I lost my keys, I lost my wallet, I lost my phone, I lost this, I lost that. Some people lost their cars, some people lose their houses. People lose things all the time. We're not going to talk about the things that are unimportant, like, oh, I lost my pen, oh, I lost a piece of paper. We're going to talk about things that are really valuable to you. And this is where that statement comes out of, you don't know what you have until it's gone. Poof. Right? So, what are the things that we really value? Number one is people. There are really special people in our lives, husbands, wives, family, close friends, and these are people we truly value, but there are so many times where we don't value them as we should. What about the job, the dream job you've always wanted? What about school, the school you want to go to, getting that scholarship, keeping those grades? These are things that are so important to us, but for some reason, we lose value of these things. What happens in the very beginning? The very beginning, you go to school for the first time, you go to every class, you wake up early, you make sure you're prepared, you do all your assignments, and you put all of your life into these, like, oh, I gotta do well. What about at work? It's the same thing. You never go late to work. You always put in extra hours. You're always thinking how to do it better. You're like, oh, I love this job. And what about people? You always meet them, you talk to them, have coffee with them, just have these really great times with them, but something happens along the way. And then you stop meeting people. You start meeting someone else instead. You start canceling on them. You come late to work. You come late to school. Well, school, eventually when you get to the second semester, what do you guys start doing? You start skipping class. Yeah, I've done it before, and it's something that I really enjoyed too. But that's another question, right? So, why are we doing this? Why are we losing the value of such amazing things that we've had in our life? And I'm going to tell you that there's two things. What are the two reasons why we lose these valuable things in our lives? And I'm going to show you this proverb that my pastor taught me. And he said something it's a very extreme statement. It's a proverb. And it says, if you forget, you will die. And you're like, what? Like die? What do you mean die? That's like so morbid, right? It's too extreme, isn't it? And the answer is no. Because death is something that can mean multiple things. Yes, if you forget things, you could die in some things. For instance, forget to take your medicine, you die. You forget to put on your seatbelt, get into a car accident, you die, right? You forget to turn off the gas in the house, you die, right? These are things you actually die in. But there are other things that die, but they're not really dying like physically dying. For instance, when it comes to people, you can have a relationship that dies. Right? Is dying, you can feel it, guys. Sometimes you're in a relationship and you feel it's dying. You're like, oh my gosh, it's gonna die pretty soon. And eventually the relationship breaks and you don't meet each other and then you die in a relationship. Well, how do you die in school? You get cut from school. You don't graduate, right? Some people get kicked out of school. You died when it comes to school. Jobs, getting fired, getting demoted, right? These are things that how we can die because we forget. Now, what did we forget? And there's two things that we forgot, okay? Number one is forgetting why you did it in the first place. There's got to be a reason that compels you, that makes you want to go to that school. There's got to be a reason that compels you, makes you want to get that perfect job. There's something that's in your heart that you say, I want to be with this person. Let me give you a cool, interesting story. Let's say there's two people that love each other so much. Love each other, lovebirds. They're in this heavenly, lovely time. They get married. And they're like, oh, they love each other. Every day they love each other. And they're not rich or anything else, but they love each other to death. And then what happens is one day they say, you know what? Because we love each other, let's make a family. Let's have a baby. So they think, okay, well, if we want to have a baby, what do we need? Well, we need a bigger house so we can raise a child in a bigger house. And if we need a bigger house, we need more money. So what do they decide to do? They decide to start eating more at home, or taking, like you make it home and you put it into these like Tupperwares and you take it to work and you don't go out to eat, you save money. They take extra shifts at work so they can make more money and save more money. Now what eventually happens is, they're taking more and more shifts and they're seeing less and less of each other, and they're more tired every day, they're more agitated, and they start to fight a little bit more, right? Because they're just cranky, not sleeping enough, they're just fighting with each other all the time, and eventually they divorce. What's the problem? What do they forget? Well, why did they take all these extra shifts? Why? Because they wanted more money. Well, why do they want more money? It's because they want a bigger house. Why do you want a bigger house? Because they want to raise, they want to have a family. So you have a baby. You need a bigger space to raise a child. And the question is, well, why do you want a child? And the answer was because they loved each other so much they wanted to start a family together. That is the core reason why they wanted to do it. But what happened along the way, they forgot why they wanted the house, why they want to make more money, why they're making extra shifts. And that reason left their thoughts, went into another stratosphere or went into outer space, and all of a sudden, after they forgot, they started fighting with each other and they forgot why they were doing it in the first place. Guys, there are so many times where we are distracted in life because of difficulties and so many other different things. We forget why we did something in the first place. It's like those movies. Haven't you seen those boxing movies? Like, bah, 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 and the guy's like, he falls on the canvas and they're counting him 1, 2, and he's like, oh, I don't want to do this anymore. And then what happens? He looks in the audience, and then there's this person in the audience that gives them a flashback, and because it looks like their mom. And they remember, oh, I'm doing this for my mom who's in the hospital, who has oh, and then they get back up. It's like, and then all of a sudden it's like, bah, 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 and they win it. And everyone's like, whoa, what happened? They remembered why they were doing it in the first place, and that gave them energy. That gave them that fire they needed, that passion to once again do the thing they wanted to do. That's the first thing. Don't forget why you started it. The second thing, if you forget, you will die. What's the second thing is, don't forget what it took for you to get there, all the things you sacrificed just to get to that point. Someone getting into university, they forget all the hard work, all the endless hours, overnight studying, trying to get good marks in high school so they can get into that class. They put so much blood, sweat, and tears into it. Not only that, what about their parents that supported them? The parents that are paying for it, or the loans that you're taking. There are so many things that happen in order for you to get to the point that you were. What about that job? Right? The dream job, you cried about it, people prayed about it, people did so many things, and they really struggled studying how to do the interview just so they can get that perfect job. And what about these relationships? Marrying someone is not a small decision, and you went through lots of ups and downs just to be together, and it's all ruined. Why? You forgot what you went through just to get it. Remember, guys, people understand if something is valuable, they will sacrifice and suffer more just to get it. And it's okay. Why? Because it's valuable to them. Think about this, guys. When you get something valuable, something like, oh, cancer treatment for my mother. Cancer treatment for my mother is so valuable. So what will they do? They will suffer and they will work and work until they go down to their bones. Why? It's cancer treatment for their mother, and it's worth the suffering so their mother can live. Right? They realize it, and they will suffer more for it. That's why you have to think back of how much you suffered just to get to that point. How much you suffered for that relationship. What people did for you so that this relationship will get better. What about that time in the relationship? It almost broke off, but the two of you had this great discussion, lots of crying, lots of chocolate and ice cream. You're like, oh, and if I was like, oh, yes, okay, and you overcame it together, and that's why you got married. There are so many things, so many people that have helped you, and you forgot about it, and this is why you lost the value, and eventually you lost that valuable thing. And then someone says to you, what? Well, you don't know what you have until it's gone, and it strikes you so hard in the head because it's such a stupid thing. How can I not value something when it's the most valuable thing in my life? Well, if you forget, you will die. Keep that, guys. Keep that in your heads. If you forget, you will die. Right? And I want you to have it so deeply ingrained in your head that you remember every time, why am I doing this? What did it take me? What did I sacrifice and suffer to get to this point? And then you will not lose the value as much as you normally would. Yes, I'm sorry guys, human beings, we are a forgetful people, and the one thing that's advantageous about forgetting really easily is what? Well, then when the bad things happen, you forget them easily too. But we cannot forget the good things. All right, guys? Hope you guys really enjoyed today. Chewy, what'd you think about today's talk? Good? All right. So, thank you for joining us today. If you haven't done so already, hit the subscribe, smash that notification bell, and of course, like and comment. What's the comment today? Which one you like best? My vlogs, the Lab 78 live shows, or these Sky Talks? Everyone, have an awesome day, and we'll see you guys again next time. Bye-bye.